Welcome to Smash Property. Today I'm speaking with Fraol Reffu. He's a 26-year-old currently working for PRDnationwide Corporate as a property research analyst. By the end of 2019, he will be graduated from a bachelor's degree in property economics at Queensland University of Technology. In his current research analyst position, he's acquired strong real estate professional skills in data analysis, strategic planning, and investment properties. In particular, he's had a strong focus on the residential real estate industry, focusing on trends, growth, sales, investment, and developments. I do apologise for the audio quality today. We did have some technical difficulties at the start that made me switch over to the phone, but Pharrell's recording is much clearer, and that's all that really matters. So without any further ado, let's go house hunting with Pharrell. Fraol Reffu, welcome to Smash Property.
Thanks for having me, Jordan.
It's good to finally get you on.
Yeah, it's good to be here, man. It's your second podcast now.
Yeah, it's been great to finally kick off the podcast. I mean, it's something I've always wanted to do, and you and I have had some back and forth on LinkedIn, and you're very supportive of all the stuff I'm doing over there on YouTube.
No problem, man. I definitely see you post a lot of stuff on LinkedIn. That's how we reached out together, and yeah, you got very interesting content there.
Thanks, mate. Well, a little bit more about you. I mean, you're currently over at PRDnationwide Corporate as a property analyst. So, how long have you been there for, and what do you get up to day to day?
Yes, that's right. So I work for PRDnationwide Corporate. Yeah, I'm currently a property research analyst. Been there for almost a year. So I used to be a property manager as well. I used to work for Harcourts. I've been involved in property for a while now, and I'm doing my bachelor's QT in property economics.
Yeah, wow, you got a lot going on.
Yeah.
So, what does your day to day role look like over there? Like, what do you do in property analytics?
So at PRD Nationwide, we have over 80 franchise offices,
Wow.
and I'm entitled to do the Queensland portfolio. So we provide market reports to those offices. So we have principals in those offices, and then we provide market reports on, based on whichever office they're in. So let's say Southport, Robina, or let's say Mackay, which is all in the Queensland portfolio. And then we have a database called Price Finder where we extract data and we data mine it. And
Yeah.
then from there, we do the median price, rents, average vendor discounting, vacancy rates, all that stuff, just
Yeah.
like a market analysis and a report that, the principal can use for his clients and update them on how the market's going in their place.
Yeah, that's cool. I guess it'd be really handy to have access to that data as well
Oh,
for
yeah, definitely. I mean,
yeah.
it's definitely a big database to the point where, there's a lot of analytics behind it. And, you can definitely see trends as a research analyst. We like to see trends. We don't want to see what's happening right now. We just want to see what happened, back in historical data as well, which is really important.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, it'd be phenomenal to see what you can find in data mining there. So to get you started, what sort of inspired you getting into property in the first place, and then property investing itself, and when did you start?
So, in property, when I came out of high school, which was like 2011, 8 years ago, 9 years ago. And, I didn't know what to do, but then I was leaning into property, which was, my biggest interest. And, I saw a lot of people do deals, especially with real estate agents. I was very involved in going to auctions and just seeing how agents were successful with their deals and all that stuff, and got me really excited about, investing as well. And I see a lot of potential in the Brisbane market because I'm very, very invested in that market, not just because I live there, but I see a lot of potential in that market because, I always tell my friends, don't sleep on Brisbane. And they're like, what do you mean by that? I'm like, it's really quiet right now. And, there's not much going on, but there's a lot of infrastructure. And, from all the data stuff that I'm seeing at work, with vacancy rates falling and all that stuff, and interstate migration coming
Yeah.
in Sydney and Melbourne, supported by infrastructure and jobs, I see a lot of big potential there. And then that's what really got me into investing. My first property was in 2017. I was 24 years old. I was very fortunate enough to get my parents involved in it to be as my guarantors. That's how I started my property journey. Bought 9 kilometers of Brisbane City.
Ah, beautiful. And so obviously you were born and bred down there or up there?
Yeah, definitely. I was born in Ethiopia, but I've been in Australia for 15 years.
Oh, wow. Okay, beautiful. So yeah, you've had a good upbringing, and that's where you've placed yourself and been surrounded. So you know the area quite well.
Definitely, yeah, exactly. That's right.
Did you did you buy a property near where you live, or did you do a bit of research to find out where the best place to invest was?
And that's the thing. I was gonna say, data is so crucial nowadays to the point where, with internet evolving and we're having a lot of information in our fingertips. Do you know what I mean? You can, like, a lot of people don't know much about that, but you can do a lot of research from, even if you don't have much access to big databases, through
Yeah.
SQM and all that stuff, reading articles and reports and all that stuff. And I did my research, I did my due diligence, and also, you know, found the best place to actually, invest. I was very fortunate enough, being mentored by my former boss at Harcourts on, just guiding me in how to invest and where to invest, being close to the city, to jobs, infrastructure, schools, hospitals, and all that stuff, which play the right metrics for the right suburb.
Yeah, that's awesome. So you had a little bit of insights of where a good investment property might be instead of just buying around the corner from mum and dad. And I think that's critical, especially for your first property. And I think that's where a lot of people in our generation kind of get caught up, is they sort of get forced into the property market from their parents, and then they just presume that where their parents are is the best place to invest because it's the only place that they know. So it's been awesome. It would have been awesome to have that sort of insights and directions from your old boss to sort of understand where a better investment property may be, or a better area may be to buy in. On that first purchase, what was the hardest part of getting started, and how did you overcome it?
The hardest part would be, it's funny because I used to drive a sports car, Nissan Skyline, R34, back in my early 20s. I used to love that
Very
car.
nice.
Yeah, I was a big sports car person. But, as maturity kicked in, as I got older, I was like, you know what, this is costing me too much money to run this car. I got to put, premium fuel in it, and which was costing me like almost $100 a week and all that stuff. So, I matured, and then, and then I sold the car at a profit. Actually, I bought it for 14 grand. Did it up a bit and sold it for 22. That is a deposit as well, and also from my savings, and from working full time as a property manager, and also I worked at Woolies as well. So I worked at Woolies on weekends, and plus being a full time student as well. So I was very busy, and then I was fortunate enough to actually, if you want something, you go get it. So, I was able to save, and also just put down a deposit, also with my help with my parents being guarantors on that mortgage.
Yeah, nice. And obviously you were working pretty hard back then. Were you being quite frugal with your money as well, or were you trying to save every penny you could?
Well, kind of both actually, because I had that mentality, you're still young, and you only live once and stuff. But then also I was being mindful of my finances. I had a balance as well. I'd have my fun times.
Yeah.
And I'd also, have
that's right.
actually where I need to be actually, my future self is depending on me, and my family in the future. You know what I mean? Like it's I got to do the hard yards when I'm young, and then just enjoy the fruits of my labor later on.
Yeah, for sure. That's awesome. So, so you sold your car, and obviously that helped you with a bit of a deposit, but you used a bit of savings as well to kick off your portfolio. And did you primarily just save that through those jobs? And how long did it take you?
Oh, it took me ages, man, since I got my first job. Do you know what I mean? I was just putting money aside since, I used to work also at a fast food joint called Brody's. I don't even know if that's still available or still around. But yeah, I started somewhere, and I was just putting money away, and then made a decision to buy a sports car, which I was very fortunate enough to actually sell it at a profit. I don't really sell it at profits, but with that one, because it's a Japanese import, I was able to actually, sell it at a good profit.
Yeah, that's awesome, and that really kicked you up into the game and helped you save that deposit. So it's good that you could have, you had a bit of fun, you spent a bit of money on fuel and getting around and doing some stuff on it, but at the end of the day, it turned out for the better, even because you made a good profit, and then you're able to lock that in your deposit. So quite handy. Yeah. So what is your goal for investing in property?
I see it as property is a long-term game thing. It's not a get rich quick scheme thing. And I see it as a long term where, I'm using my youth and to, buy right now so I can enjoy the fruits of my labor later on. And my goal is to be able to have, great passive income by the age of, my 40s or 50s or whatever. Do you know what I mean? I don't also, a lot of people want to say, oh, I want to retire with passive income. With retirement, after you retire, what are you going to do? Do you know what I mean? I understand, will you be traveling and all that stuff, but, I'll probably be still working, but working as in like, working on my dreams and goals while having that passive income and, working and like, do you know what I mean? Like just loving, doing what I love to do.
Yeah. It's interesting you say that actually, because, I have been lucky enough to be surrounded with some people that have been able to retire in their 30s even, and they sort of just, they really enjoy the first year or two, but then after year 3 or 4, they kind of get really bored just sitting at home doing nothing. Right. And they actually start, their own companies and their own businesses just for the sake of having something to do. It's not to earn more money. So
when people say, I want to retire early, do you know what I mean? Like when you retire, what are you going to do? Do you know what I mean? You'll be still working. Yeah. Do you know what I mean? But people are just scared of the whole 9 to 5 thing. Do you know what I mean? That's, I believe that 9 to 5 thing is still a cash flow thing. Do you know what I mean? This is your cash flow. Depends what you do with your money. Do you know what I mean? Like right now, I'm on my corporate ladder, and I treat that as my cash flow to actually use that on my next property or whatever I'm doing. So a lot of people are afraid of the whole 9 to 5 thing, and don't want to work for people and all that.
Yeah, you still got to have goals and aspirations in life to sort of motivate you. You can't just sit at home and watch Netflix all day.
That's right, definitely.
So is your primary objective just to sit and hold for your investment properties, or do you want to sort of get into some other types of, developing or anything like that?
Yeah, definitely. With property, because I listen to a lot of podcasts as well from Mark Yardney and, Property Couch and all that. And then they've always suggested not to sell your properties once you buy them because, you just wait for the compound interest to kick in. And then, you're choosing, like for me, because I'm 26 years old, I'm choosing, capital growth assets right now. And then which will, eventually turn into, cash flow and then, building a portfolio like that. And I believe that's the way to, patiently hold. And also, I think you mentioned it in one of your podcasts. Actually, I was listening this morning. You were speaking with some of the guys, and then you were saying at least hold the property for, 10 years and sell.
Yeah, exactly. Well, I think 10 years is I would never sell a property unless it was something called a lemon, which means it's just not performing what you'd expect it to perform. But
exactly. No, it depends on people's circumstances.
Yeah. And having that sort of 10-year milestone going into a property is the best sort of mindset. If you're going in with a mindset of, hoping it's going to go up in value in 2 years and then selling it in 2 years, the cost to trade a property is just too expensive, and you might even only break even if you're, on the standard capital growth of 6.8% if you were to buy and sell. So having that sort of 10-year vision and goal is a good way to start.
Yeah, exactly. It's also the timing of when you buy the properties as well, because there's a property cycles where you don't buy at the peaks. You know what I mean? And then that's when the whole your property will double in price in 10 years. Amalgamation comes in.
Yeah, exactly. So, what has been your most successful deal so far?
I'd say just my first investment property, really, the one that I currently hold. That was in Maruka, 9 kilometers away from Brisbane City. Nice. We were ready to buy, and then it was actually advertised for 700K, which I thought, for the bedroom 1 bathroom in that area was way too expensive. And then, the agent was aiming way too high. And, for me having that resource under me with the research and comparative sales, I went to the agent and I said, look, I've done my research and you've advertised it for way too high. I think it's worth this. And then, and then that's when he knew that I was in property. And then he's like, all right, man. No. Do you know what I mean? Like, I like to trigger agents sometimes, do you know what I mean? To the point where I just like facts with comparable sales around the suburbs. And, and then I was, he's like, oh, that's how much the owner wants. He wants 700, blah, blah, blah. And then it was in the market for a good month. And then he put it down to 660. And
wow.
There was a bit of interest there, and then that's when I put my offer in, about it for 670.
Nice. Yeah. Oh, that's good. And did it have tenants in it at the time, or did you have to rent it out?
It definitely had tenants in it, which was a bit of a good advantage because as an investment, you want tenants in there, and usually owner occupiers, they don't want tenants in there, and the tenant's lease was like maybe like 6-7 months until they expire. So that
Oh,
was
that's
like
great.
turning off a lot of owner occupiers because they want to get something to move in straight away.
Straight
So
away, yeah. Yeah, I've never actually thought about that. That's very true, actually. If
it
they've
is
got
because the
a
thing is,
contracted tenant in there,
because the thing is, at the end of the
that's
day, the tenant is, he only leaves when his lease ends. I mean,
yeah,
it's regulations, and if an owner occupier wanted to buy that house, they'd have to wait until the actual tenant moves out. So that would be next 7 months. So
yeah,
that definitely, you know, remove the owner occupier appeal, buyer appeal for that house.
yeah, exactly. And have they remained in there since you bought it, or have they
Yes,
moved
they
out?
have actually. Yeah. So
That's
after we
great.
bought it, the property manager as well, and then yeah, that did. I used my property management skills to actually negotiate and extend leases and all that stuff. So I was very fortunate in that area.
Yeah, that's awesome. Good job. So, how for that one specifically, how did you assess that it's a good potential for an investment property?
hmm So the way I did that was location. Location plays such a big role in investing in property. It does 80% of the lifting.
Yeah,
You know, by looking at the suburb, the area, the population growth as well, and looking at free ABS statistics like household income. Must be higher than state average. Yields, vacancy rates, and also infrastructure and the zoning. And like for Brisbane, because we've been impacted by the floods in 2011, I'll also
yeah,
use the flood zones. And, seeing where properties have been located, if they've been impacted or not, and which play a big factor. Which your insurance premium would be really high if you had a property in a flood zone.
yeah. I haven't bought in Brisbane yet, and
Oh,
I mean
if
I've
you do
heard
it,
a lot
you
about it,
definitely
about
hit
the
me
flood
up.
zone. So, but how is there like flood maps that they sort of allocate these zones to?
So for me, I was very fortunate enough to actually use my resources from QUT, which is the university that I go to. It's called Near Maps,
Yeah,
and with that Near Maps, I actually look at historical mapping of the suburbs. So it'll be like a bird's eye view of, let's say the address of a property, and then I could go back in time in 2011 and see where the water has been. So some of the properties,
yeah, okay,
let's say if I look at Rockley or Oxley or whatever, which have been impacted really highly by the water, Near Maps will be able to actually show me that it's been underwater or where the water has hit and all that stuff. So it kind of gives me an analysis of actually determining if that's a good property to buy or not.
yeah, that's awesome. And so, have you since then found any other things that you would consider when buying your second investment property?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, it's also, looking at historical analysis as well, buying in established suburbs, and also supply and demand, simple economics. Do you know what I mean? I also
Yeah,
believe that, supply is the enemy of capital growth. Do you know what I mean? If there's high supply,
yeah,
I mean, you're not going to have much capital growth because, there's too much stock out there. And just also where the, you know, the property is situated, being close to school catchments, public transport, shops, parks, all those amenities that actually play a massive role in the behavioral economics side of things. And also look at the 70-30 rule. I don't know if you've heard that. It's where a suburb has a 70% owner occupier and 30% investors.
yeah,
So
yeah.
actually look,
That's a great one.
yeah, because owner occupiers are emotional buyers. They're the ones who tend to overpay. So, but the investors are the ones who actually, they're always seeking for discounts, just to leverage their properties.
Yeah, I think a lot feeds in that too as well. Like if you had a high ratio of investors in that area, obviously there's going to be more properties up for rent. So you're going to have more, more rental properties up on the market that are comparing to yours, and so there's more stock on the market for that rental rate,
Exactly.
or for the vacancy rate.
Exactly, and mostly, most of the suburbs are, low socioeconomic as well. Like if you buy into suburbs where there's a lot of rentals, those people who rent, on government assistance and all that stuff. all those
Yeah,
factors
yeah,
and actually where your property is actually situated. And also, I wanted to tell you that I made my own Excel spreadsheet and I called it the Fraol Property Diagnosis. I have a massive like a list of agendas where what makes the right property. So you'd probably be like, hey, Farrell, what do you think of this property? So you send me an address and I have a look at it. And I have a massive checkbox list,
yeah.
and just
Beautiful.
like those things that I've mentioned, like location and, historical data, yields, infrastructure, all that stuff. And then at the end, I would just tell you, hey, look, Jordan, I think you should buy this property or I think you shouldn't. It's just pretty much consultancy telling you why you should buy it or why you shouldn't buy it because of this, kind of like a buyer's agency, but
Yeah,
without me going out there and actually helping you out. It's just like consultancy and giving you advice and all that stuff.
yeah. Should you have it or should you not have it? Yeah, I've got the same sort of thing, and sometimes I look at it and the list is just ridiculous, and I'm kind of like, well, am I going to have analysis paralysis if I can't match every single little thing on this list? And it's hard to find that line between them. I mean, obviously, some things are more important than others, but where is the cutoff line, and what, being 15 kilometers away from the city compared to 12 kilometers away from the city, it's like, how do you gauge that sort of stuff? It's quite interesting.
It is definitely, and also having that, high land to asset ratio. Do you know what I mean? People keep forgetting that land always goes up in value, and always, the owner occupiers are the ones who tend to overpay, and they don't do their due diligence, and overpay a little bit, and those are the other things that people need to be mindful.
Yeah, I'm glad you brought that up because I always grew up with a mentality that I was always told that land appreciates and material depreciates, and that is very true. But I also, that used to make me think that obviously the bigger the land that you had, the more valuable it is. But over the last couple of years, I've sort of, come to terms that even if a square meter block of land in Singapore is worth, I don't know the actual number, but it's millions and millions of dollars. So it's sometimes it's not the land size, sometimes it's,
That's right. It's
the actual the value of the land.
Exactly, it's always the positioning. Do you know what I mean? Like for instance, the suburb where my investment property is. Do you know what I mean? Like because it's on a 670 square meter block. If you compare it to the same house that's down the road, across the road from a busy road, which is in the same suburb, the land value would be much lower, even though
Yeah,
they're the same size. So doing that research and seeing and being able to actually identify those things is very important.
yeah, for sure. So what has been the most successful property strategy that you've used?
I think it was pretty much the high land to asset ratio actually, and doing my calculations and feasibilities. Excel is huge. Do you know what I mean? Putting everything in Excel. I'm a big Excel user. I put everything on Excel. And, doing your property research, and then just like we said, land always goes up in value, and buying a property near where where the jobs are. Do you know what I mean? Seeing where infrastructure, hospitals, school catchments, and those are massive strategies. And also walkability as well. I forgot to mention because walkability is very important. There's a website that analyzes your walkability. You know what I mean? You put in the suburb name and it gives you a walkability score. And
is that walkscore.com?
Yeah, that's the one. Yeah. So you go on that, you type in your suburbs, actual, so your suburb, and it gives you a walkability score. And from there, you can actually, compare it to, whatever, like, let's say for Brisbane, whatever Brisbane's average is. You know what I mean? If you want to stay above that, you know what I mean? Because later on, I think walkability is very important, especially in the capital cities like Sydney, Brisbane, and Melbourne, because our roads are very congested nowadays. Taking time to actually get to work, through the city, because we need that infrastructure and all that stuff. And your property will have a massive value if it's close to to jobs, to shops, and all that stuff. It plays a massive factor value in the future.
Yeah, that's awesome. And did you buy a brand new house or a second?
No, it was a post-war. I like that.
Yeah.
I'm not really into the whole brand new house and land packages thing. Do you know what I mean? I just want to buy an established house post-war. And then, in the future, I'll probably renovate it again, and then just to add more value and attract more tenants.
Yeah, manufacture some of that equity.
Yeah, exactly. That's right.
Yeah, that's awesome. So how are you? I mean, you're obviously 26.
Yes.
Yeah. So I mean, you've got your whole life ahead of you, but have you really thought about managing your risks and what your exit strategy might be?
Yeah, so I'm probably thinking of maybe, depending on how many properties I accumulate, selling a couple off and paying off debt as well, also reducing that debt to increase my cash flow positions and, having a right team with me, even though I do a lot of advisory, I would rather seek advice for myself because I learn every day. Do you know what I mean? So I'm
Yeah.
always on LinkedIn, I'm always listening to the media, I'm always, involved with the research and always learning every single day. And, I won't stop learning.
Yeah.
And with that, even though I'm still young, I do have a bit of a risk appetite as well. But
Yep.
I'm being cautious with that as well because I don't like to lose. So I don't want to lose too much. And, I don't want to be stupid and put my money somewhere I don't know. And also go with
Yeah,
this
that's
flow
right.
where, if you don't know about it, don't invest in it. So, sometimes, your friends will probably be like, oh, buy this shares or whatever, they'll go up in value. And what, I've got nothing to lose. You might as well. Do you know what I mean? So,
Yeah.
plays with those risk factors as well.
Yeah, exactly. I think having the right team around you is probably the most critical out of that. I mean, you can do as much analysis as like, and I'm in the same boat. Like, I can do as much analysis as I possibly can, but if I was to buy in another state or not have my feet in the ground in a specific area, having people that have walked that sort of path before you and understand the local agents and the local shops and even that there's a sewage pipe that runs through one half of the street
Exactly.
and not the other half of the street, just
Yep.
those little things is so critical.
It is definitely, at the end of the day, doing research and asking for the advice for the right advice and taking things into consideration plays a big role.
Yeah, exactly. So I mean, you've only bought the one property, but was there any mistakes that you went through when you bought that property? I mean, is there maybe not in the purchase of it, but since then, or is there anything that you'd like to show people, walk them through the mistakes that you've made so that make sure that they don't make them themselves?
For me, I haven't made too many big mistakes. It's just, I'm a big observer, Jordan. I like to
Yeah.
observe. I'm not perfect, but in the future, for me, I will probably make mistakes, and that's how I learn. But I'm also,
Yeah.
willing to learn from others as well. There's a saying that says a wise man learns from a fool's mistakes. So, I like to learn from others as well. But along that journey, I will make mistakes, and from those mistakes will be the person I will be. And most mistakes also that I actually want to give advice to, especially us millennials. Do you know what I mean? Because your
Yeah.
property podcast is focusing a lot on millennials, which I'm very got me very interested. You know what I mean? And
Yeah.
mistakes that they make. Let's say they're ready to go for home loan, and then they're not taking into consideration of those afterpay stuff. The zip pays and the net,
Yeah.
all that stuff. Do you know what I mean? Because banks nowadays are so tough right now. Back
Yep.
in 2017, my home loan application was so much easier than what it is right now. And
Oh, yeah.
being very tough, and then they see these afterpay and zip pays and Netflix and all these things that are coming out of your account. Do you know what I mean? If you're not responsible for your home loan, do you know what I mean? What makes you think you'll be responsible in the future if you have all this stuff in your account?
Yeah.
And I believe that millennials need to be actually mindful of these things because zip pays and afterpays, they're all targeting us. Do you know what I mean? With those
Yeah.
marketing and all that stuff, and a lot of millennials are in debt because of those things, and they need to be
Yeah.
mindful and they need to actually get advice and also to actually just move on from just at least sacrifice those things while they're going through their application. Do you know what I mean? Let's say
Yeah.
go for an application, at least unsubscribe from them for like a good 3 or 6 months so that your statement looks great for the for the lender.
Yeah, exactly. I read an article yesterday, I think, and it was Zip Pay and Afterpay have now become a $1 billion industry, and
Exactly.
it's just phenomenal how quickly it has grown, and how mostly it's our generation who's jumping on board,
Yeah,
and
exactly.
it's just crazy. But I
It
think
is.
you doing you saying initially there that, you know, you've learnt from other people's mistakes, and you do a lot of research and analysis in the industry, and I think that's really helped you or prevented you from making a mistake yourself, because you have done so much research and analysis and learned from other people and listened to other people that have made mistakes.
Exactly,
So
and you also
you've
see it from the
prevented it.
media as well. Do you know what I mean? The media's telling you all these things about how banks have been tough, and also I think it was a couple months ago there was a bank that actually declined someone's home loan application because they had like a speeding fine, and
Oh,
the banks thought it was like an occurring speeding fine to the point where they thought he was in debt, and they actually rejected his loan.
wow. Yeah,
Yeah,
that's
so
crazy.
giving,
Well, yeah, you saying that it's harder to get a loan these days. I mean, I
oh
bought
yeah,
my
definitely.
second property this year, and I bought it in a trust account, and it was just, the process was so
Yeah,
much tougher than
it would
my
have been.
first one back in 2016. So I
Yeah.
think you're spot on there.
Yeah, because they're definitely assessing at a higher rate, which I think APRA has actually lowered that. And you know, it's still tough to actually, you know, get a mortgage out there. But you know, if you actually, you know, have actually everything on like in the right order, do you know what I mean? You got your monthly expenses, your income, do you know what I mean? Being actually helping the actual lender, like for me, when I gave all my expenses and incomes, you know what I mean, I gave it to them in an Excel sheet, and then they were very, you know, impressed, and also, you know, makes their life easier, and they know that you're actually serious about these things.
Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah, that's awesome. So, given that you have done a lot of research about the industry and listen to podcasts and all that sort of stuff, I mean, what has been the best resources that have helped you along the journey?
I think the biggest investment you can ever make is, you know, is in yourself. Do you know what I mean? Educating
Yeah,
yourself. You know, it starts with your brain. Do you know what I mean? I listen to a lot
yeah,
of podcasts. Even while I'm at work, you know, we are allowed to have headsets, and then some people listen to music or whatever. But I like to, you know, listen to podcasts. You know, Property Couch, Ben Kingsley, Michael Yardney, Smart Property Investment, Andrew Wilson, and all that stuff. And
yeah.
you doing as well, because you got your podcast now, so I'll be definitely listening to your content, which would be really awesome. But yeah, it's just reading books as well in my spare time, you know, attending seminars, and, you know, go to
Yeah,
networking, and, you know, talking to others, and, you know, putting myself out there, and, you know, also giving advice to others. Do you know what I mean? For me to actually succeed, you know, I like to help others and giving them consultancy on whatever they need.
yeah, for sure. I think that's been a big part of my journey too, is not only doing research myself, but then educating others on it. And I think I learn more through educating others, because to educate someone, you actually have to know what you're talking about. So,
Mhm.
you know, whenever I'm preparing a video or something like that, there are, you know, I might know 80% of it, but there's 20% that I'm not 100% sure on. So just doing that sort of final research and understanding gives me so much more knowledge to then pass on as education. So
Exactly.
I'm
Yeah.
definitely in the same boat there.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, passing the education is so important because you want to see others do well as well. Do you know what I mean? I'm also very fortunate
Mm,
enough to be working with, you know, my boss, who she's a chief economist for PRD, and
nice.
my staff members. You know, what I mean, I learn a lot from them as well. And then, you know, from our resources from PRD, what we have, do you know what I mean? RP data, Price Finder, Cordell, you know, SQM, and all these things that, you know, help me to finalize my research stuff and also pass it on to others. You know, it's a very very good journey to be in.
Yeah, that's awesome. And although you've got access to those things, are there some websites or some resources that are public that anyone could access?
Yeah, definitely. Um, the resources that are public right now, I'd say SQM research, which is a really good one. You know, gives
Yeah,
you vacancy rates, yields, and all that stuff. And you know what I mean, which actually is really good information out there for people to access. You can even type in your own suburb and see what's happening in your area or whatever suburb you want to invest in. And SQM is
yeah,
a big user that we use, which is really great. And also, you
yeah.
know, we're reading property reports, PRD publishes as well, because we publish, you know, capital city reports. Like we're about to finish our second half 2019, which I will send you next month.
Nice.
Yeah, so we at PRD, we write property reports on the major capital cities now with all seven. So you got Brisbane, Sydney, Melbourne, Hobart, Adelaide, and Perth. and Canberra.
Yeah.
And you know what I mean? Like if people are very interested in whatever city they want to invest in, they can just pick up those reports and be updated on what's happening there. And you know, it's just like a market update to actually educate yourself. And that's when the learning techniques come in for anyone.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I read the one that you sent me the other day, and that
Yeah,
was fantastic. So
yeah, that was the
I'm
premium
looking.
property one. Yeah. So what I with that
Yeah,
report, actually, me and Asti, who is my the chief economist here at PRD, we came up with this methodology on seeing what's happening with the premium properties here in Southeast Queensland, because we are seeing a massive trend of interstate buyers tapping into that market, because what they're doing is they're selling off their Sydney or Melbourne properties and coming into here living in one of those premium properties that are much more affordable than they are to when compared to Sydney and Melbourne. So we're seeing
yeah,
vacancy rate decrease and all that stuff. And I'm seeing all these trends where it's heading to the direction of Southeast Queensland, which is quite interesting.
that's awesome. Oh, well, I'm looking forward to this new report that's coming out.
Yeah, definitely. So I'll definitely keep you updated, because on my LinkedIn I always publish stuff, and then just always keep people up to date on what's happening out there as well. And we also have very big media exposure as well. And
Yeah,
whenever we have in, we publish it. Channel 7 comes in to interview us and then just ask us questions and stuff. Do you mean put it out in the media, and then just pretty much market updates on what's happening all around Australia.
yeah, beautiful. Yeah, looking forward to it.
Yeah, definitely.
So, in saying all that, what gets you up in the morning? What motivates you the most to do all this sort of analysis? Or do you have a favorite quote?
Favorite quote. If you're going to complain about it, don't pray about it. I'm a spiritual person. You know what I mean? Like if
Yeah,
you,
yeah,
I hate people that complain. Do you know what I mean? As humans, we're never satisfied with things. Do you know what I mean? Sometimes, buy a nice car. You save up so much money for a nice car, and then when you get it, just like, oh, it's nice, but I want the next model after that. Do you know what I mean?
yeah,
Like as
yeah, yeah,
never satisfied. And then I feel like we need to be actually grateful for what we have and where we stand in life. And also another quote is, like I told you before, a wise man learns from the fool's mistakes. Learning also, making mistakes as well myself. And learning from the mistakes makes grows you as a person as well. And what gets me up in the morning is also, so it's not just to make mistakes, but to learn something new each day, and to actually looking forward to the future and providing for my future family. And then I want to be that provider and working hard, and also setting a good example to the younger ones looking up to me, or just whoever's actually very interested in what I do.
yeah, yeah. That's awesome. Oh, well, they're two very good quotes, I think.
Yeah.
So, what in saying that, the people that are looking up to you, I mean, what advice would you give the next generation to get started?
Oh man, that's actually a really good one, actually. It doesn't really matter, if you're an analytical investor, or do you know what I mean? Like there are people out there, let's say like myself, who are research analysts that do all these research data and all that stuff. But it's at the end of the day, it's all about action. Do you know what I mean? Anyone can tell you a dream they have, but if they don't put the action in, it doesn't really become a dream. It just becomes a wish. Do you know what I mean? So action plays a really big part with your plans and dreams and goals. And I believe that you gotta start young, follow your dreams, and anything is possible if you put your work into it. And don't take too long to actually make a decision. Do you know what I mean? Don't wait for the right time of the market. I mean, you should wait for the right time, but just sometimes people, they just have that fear of missing out and all that stuff, and then that's when they get into the trap and buying at the wrong time of the market as well. And
Yeah,
when you go into the property side of things, having like an approach where you're getting advice from others, mentorships as well, and where your situation is, where you want to go with your finances, and what your situation is as well. And if you have debt, you reduce your debt, you do debt consolidation and all that stuff. And getting help out there, because some people are very, like, they think they know it all and all that stuff, and they're just too scared to ask for help, or they're too scared to ask questions. And there's no such thing as a stupid question. I believe that we should ask as many questions as we can, especially as young people. Sometimes our ego plays in and then kind of interrupts our dreams.
yeah, for sure. I think that's fantastic. just getting started young and following your dreams, and it's never a wrong time to buy property. It's just when you're
Exactly.
ready.
So you buy the right property, I mean, doesn't really matter as long as you buy the right property, investment grade property. Do you know what I mean? There's a lot
Yeah,
of people out there who buy lemon properties. Do you know what I mean? Like, you don't want to be that sort of person, to the point where you
yeah,
do go that regret. I think you mentioned in one of your podcasts, actually, I was listening this morning, how if you make a mistake with your investment property, it can cost you a lot in a downturn.
yeah. Well, the opportunity costs. I mean, the first one's going to be your biggest, and if you get that wrong, not only is it going to set you back at the start, but you'll always be kicking yourself in opportunity costs for the rest of your life, saying, "Oh, I wish I bought a different property and not that one." So,
Yeah,
I
exactly.
think
And it also goes with, emotional, because real estate is such an emotional game. Do you know what I mean?
yeah,
Like, emotional buyers are the ones who tend to overpay, so they need to treat real estate and investing, as a business.
yeah, for sure. Well, Farrell, it's been amazing to have you on. Thanks for coming on today.
No problem, Jordan. Thank you for having me finally.
I know it's been good, and I think you've shared some very good insights, especially for the next generation. And
Yeah.
I think we'll all be waiting for your next research report to come out.
Yeah.
So we'll keep everyone posted.
Yeah. And yeah, you've done really well with your, your new podcast as well, Smashed Avocado, and I very encourage it. I will definitely encourage others, and especially the young ones, to listen to your stuff to the point where they can learn a lot from you, because you're definitely very, very inspiring others.
And there you have it, straight from a professional property analyst himself. The research tools he uses, the techniques he puts into play when analysing an investment property, and overseeing it all together in an Excel format. There's so much to consider before buying a property. If you're keen for more content like this, make sure you subscribe, and please leave us a review with any feedback for future podcasts. And until next time, happy house hunting.